Hey, it's guitarist Derek Skye coming at you from the great Pacific Northwest with some more guitar challenges for you. Today I want to talk a little bit about confidence. Super important ingredient in this stew. If you want to perform, I think that's a big part of it. And I think, just even in practicing and interacting with others, it's just, it's an element that doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's really a big part of it, and I can't tell you how many times I get students in my office here in Portland or on Skype or out in workshops and stuff, and they just lose. It's always the same thing. It's always, I can play this a lot better at home. And I know the feeling. One of the big challenges for us is to play like it doesn't matter when it does. And sometimes when it does, it could range from, being on the radio or being on TV to just playing in front of your guitar teacher or playing in front of your wife or husband or whatever. And so that's something to really look at. How can we bring more of our ability to the table every time we play? It's something I've thought a lot about. Because I think I personally really struggled with like straight stage fright, I guess, just feeling comfortable. And it took me a lot of years to be able to sort of relax on stage and do what I do. And even now, sometimes it's better than others, So I have a couple insights into this, I guess, that hopefully are helpful. The challenge today is just to think about this stuff and maybe do some further study. I know, for me, there's a couple things. I think for the most part, getting a little nervous about playing in front of people is about, worried you're not going to do well. I don't think we worry that we're going to do a great job, And I think the cure for that is definitely being over-prepared. So this lifestyle of practice, I think, is really, really important. And I mentioned earlier on about maybe making lists. If you do have a gig coming up, or maybe you do plan on wooing a potential spouse coming up, or whatever your performance coming up is, really start working towards that in a way that's sort of methodical. If you're 6 days out, make a list of what you're going to do over those 6 days. Play the tune. If you only have 5 minutes, use those 5 minutes to play that tune, every day. But the more prepared you are, the better. I guess maybe that's really obvious, but sometimes a lot of people will come into a gig and, just sort of be really nonchalant about it, and they're not really realizing what's going to happen when those chemicals kick in. And then, then your nonchalantness just kind of goes out the window. Some people don't have that. And I think that some of the best sort of sidemen and studio musicians and stuff like that are people who just are born with this, maybe a different cocktail of hormones, and can just go up on live TV and just be totally fine. But I think a lot of us, we have to really think about this stuff. So anyway, being over-prepared goes a long way. The other thing I tell people about like stage fright and stuff is breathing is really important. Just taking a lot of deep breaths. We don't realize, just like when I was talking in earlier episodes about tension and how it can kind of creep down into your hands and kind of work against you. Breathing can be kind of the same thing. Our brain really is air cooled, but unfortunately, it's one of the first things to go. If you're in a tight situation, you start breathing shallow or hold your breath. I don't know. I used to always, if I was playing something maybe that I thought was, maybe had a big stretch or like a fast thing I had to do, or I was worried I wouldn't remember it, I would always just hold my breath, it's just a bad thing to get into. It just kind of starts that whole cycle of tension and anxiety and stuff. So continuing to breathe is a good idea. You can even, this probably sounds a little yogic, but you could even do something like when you're practicing a tune at home, just like see if you can take really long, deep breaths while you do it. See if you can just almost go against the grain. Maybe play something kind of fast, and take these long, slow breaths. But I think that that's a really big part of it. But the main thing about confidence, in my opinion, is that you got to kind of just make up your mind that you're going to do it. I think you can go down a path of all kinds of, well-meaning psychology and stuff. But in the end, I think you just have to sort of act yourself into right thinking. I don't think you can think yourself into right acting. I wanted to quickly mention I'm a kind of a nerd with the TED Talks on the computer you can watch. I just think they're just an incredible gift. And there's one in particular by a woman named Amy. I think her last name is Cuddy. It's Cuddy. And she has this amazing talk on this subject. And just go watch it. Basically, Cuddy. I think there's like 25 million views. But she talks a lot about basically that, about how just kind of you can psych yourself into situations with, just by changing your posture, and that's kind of what worked for me in the end, is I eventually just said, you just got to just pretend you're confident. And if you're a performer, when you think about it, confidence is a big part of what you're selling. I don't think anyone's going to go see a big concert with someone who's up there and they're just, obviously really uncomfortable and really, really nervous. And, I think most of the times we're sort of captivated by performers who are just calm and cool and collected. And so, on the inside, it might be a horror story, but I think you just kind of have to act your way into that. So whether you're not planning on taking the stage or just playing with a friend or playing with your teacher, start thinking about ways that you can kind of build your confidence and bring more of your whole game to the show. And just know that, you're entitled to do it. I don't know how else to say that without sounding at all pop psychology, but sometimes I'll get a student, they haven't been playing very long, and we'll take a solo, I'll get them to take a solo or something, and they're just like, well, I haven't been playing very long. I have nothing to say. Yes, you do. You have just as much to say about music as I do, or anybody else has been playing longer. So that's another part of it, is that, just be, very musical and confident just from the get-go, just from the beginning. That's something when I work with a student, I try to really harness, because everything else kind of comes after that, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's the challenge for the day. Be confident, think about ways you can work that in, and I promise that'll definitely come out in your playing and your performing and what you're up to. All right, take care.